Hi friends, welcome back to chapter 3 today. We didn't have nearly as much of a cliffhanger as the last time in terms of something hidden inside of a closet like we did the first time, but we did get to meet a new character, Douglas, but we were left at the end of the chapter with all the kids taking home the different class pets. One of them being Douglas, and I told you the sneak peek that today's chapter 3, is called What's Wrong with Douglas? So let's jump right in. After school, Lucy and Nate went to the twins' house. Bradley and Brian each held an end of the cage as they walked home. The towel was draped over the cage so Douglas wouldn't get too cold. Lucy carried the jar of rabbit food. I wonder who left him in the closet, Nate said. Maybe it was a kid in another grade. Why would a kid get rid of a rabbit? Bradley asked. Nate shrugged. I'll give you just the little picture at the top there of Douglas kind of peeking his head over there. Maybe the kid's parents made him do it, he said. It had to be a kid or someone who works at the school, Brian said. Why? Lucy asked. Well, who else could get into Mr. Veray's classroom? Brian asked. Bri, there are parents all over the building today, Bradley said. Some of them came in to bring food and help with the parties. You're right, Lucy said. Some kid's mom or dad could have left Douglas just as well. Or what about that guy who brings the milk every day? Bradley asked. Or the woman who delivers the mail and the plumber fixing a toilet in the boys' bathroom. In other words, it could be anyone, Nate said. 10 minutes later, the kids trooped into Bradley and Brian's kitchen. Mrs. Pinto was sitting at the table chopping vegetables. Hi, kids. Leave your boots by the doors, please, she said. The kids all removed their boots. Mom, we got a rabbit, Bradley announced. He and Brian set the cage on the floor. Brian whipped off the towel. His name is Douglas, and we get to keep him for the long weekend. Mrs. Pinto walked over and peered into the cage. Hello, Douglas, she said. Then she looked at her twin sons. Where did you get him? They explained about the mystery Valentine at school. How odd, Mrs. Pinto said. As a parent myself, I don't know if that would be my only reaction if my kids came home with an unexpected rabbit for the weekend. I have never owned a rabbit before. I would have had no clue what to feed a rabbit. So Mrs. Pinto seems to be taking it in stride, is the saying. So she doesn't seem bothered by this fact at all. She just says, how odd. The kids yanked off their hats and coats. They all knelt around the cage. Don't scare him, Bradley said. We're not, Brian said. Let's all just be quiet for a minute, their mother said. Rabbits are timid animals. And the word timid means kind of easily scared, easily startled or frightened. They all watched Douglas in the cage. He huddled in a corner, not moving a whisker. He didn't move at school either, Bradley said. Maybe he's hungry, Lucy said. Mrs. Pinto grabbed a slice of carrot from her cutting board. She pushed it through the cage bars. Douglas didn't even look at it. What's the matter with him? Brian asked his mom. Is he sick? I don't know, Mrs. Pinto said. Maybe he's just scared. Just then, their dog, Pal, trotted into the kitchen. He stuck his nose up against the cage. Woof, he said. Douglas ignored Pal. Bradley petted his dog. Douglas isn't feeling good, he explained to Pal. Can we keep Douglas in our room, Mom? Sure, his mother said. Maybe after a while he'll get more perky. The 4 kids lugged the cage and jar of food up the stairs. They bumped into Josh at the top of the stairs. Josh was Bradley and Brian's 12-year-old brother, and that's the character that we're familiar with. So they use the term lugged, so you can see that it's a pretty big cage. So it's large, it's awkward, might even be a little bit heavy, and poor Douglas kind of huddling in the corner there. And there is Josh, their brother, that we've met before. What's in the cage? Josh asked. A rabbit, Brian said. We're keeping him for the weekend. Cool, Josh said. He put his finger into the cage. His name is Douglas, Lucy told Josh, but he may be sick. He won't move or anything. Josh stared into the cage. Maybe he's just taking a nap, he said. Then he headed downstairs. The kids brought the cage into Bradley and Brian's room. They set it on Bradley's desk. Lucy filled the water bottle in the bathroom. Bradley put a handful of the rabbit food in the cage in front of Douglas's nose. When Bradley took his hand away, he felt something smooth under the newspaper. "I found something," he said. He felt around under the papers and pulled out a baggie. Inside the baggie were 3 photographs. Bradley laid them on his bed. "They're pictures of Douglas," Lucy said. The kids looked at the pictures. In one, he was just a small bunny sitting in a man's hand. Another picture showed Douglas in a yard somewhere. In the third picture, Douglas was sitting on a wooden bench. There was water in the background. "I wonder who took these pictures," Lucy said. "Probably his owner," Bradley said. "The mystery man," Brian said in a spooky voice. "I wonder if Douglas got left in the closet because he's sick," Lucy said. "That's a pretty mean thing to do." Bradley walked over to his bookshelf. He found a book about pets. He turned to the chapter on rabbits. "Guys, listen to this," he said. "If your pet rabbit stops eating, playing, or hopping around, he may be sick. Take him to a veterinarian immediately." And a veterinarian is a doctor specifically for animals. The 4 kids stared into the cage. Douglas sat as still as stone. "We have to take him to Dr. Henry," Bradley announced. "Who's he?" Lucy asked. "The vet," Nate explained. "My sister Ruth Rose brings our cat there. Doc Henry is real nice." Bradley ran downstairs. "Mom, can you call Dr. Henry?" he asked. "Douglas still looks like he's sick." The other kids came downstairs while Mrs. Pinto punched in the telephone number. Bradley listened to his mother tell the vet about the rabbit. "Okay, thank you, Dr. Henry," she said. Then she hung up. "What did he say, Mom?" Bradley asked. "If Douglas doesn't improve overnight, he'll take a look at him tomorrow," Bradley's mother said. "Don't worry, hun. Douglas will be fine." But Bradley did worry. That night, he slept on the floor next to Douglas's cage. Take a look at that sweet picture. He's so worried about the pet. It's not even his official pet. It's still just his class's pet. But he's really doing an extra job making sure that Douglas is A-okay. And that is where we're going to leave it for today. And because it is Friday when I'm going to be posting this video, I'm going to give you another little bit of a teaser. We don't know what's wrong with Douglas right now, but he's not looking too hot. And I will tell you that chapter 4, for any of my reader friends, it's called Bad News. I can make my own predictions as well, but it is always important for you to do the same. What kind of bad news do you think they might be talking about? We will pick back up on this on Monday. Until then, have a wonderful weekend. Bye, friends.